Hello my friends, and welcome to Paulina Art. Today I'm going to be painting the daffodils, which are the flower of the month of March. This video is inspired by Donna Dewberry's Flower of the Month series. I'm not only going to be painting the daffodils, you're also going to learn how to create material and glass beads, in addition to a wood-like effect for the bottom. I've already done the background of this painting, and for that, it's not really the background. I've done the base for this painting, and for that, I use some of the medium gray mixed with white gesso. By using the gesso, it helped me prime my canvas. If you don't have gesso, you can just mix it with white. This is I wanted a very soft, warm gray for the background of the painting. And as you can see, I have already traced my pattern onto the canvas. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm going to paint the surface where my flowers are sitting. It's like a table. I'm gonna do it as a table. And for that, I'm going to use my sponge, and I'm going to use my gray mixed with a little bit of white, and I'm going to use a little bit of black with the gray as well to create some contrast on this surface. I'm using my sponge in a horizontal way to create the effect of wood maybe. Now, I'm not going to concern too much on this side because the curtains are going to be coming this way and then folding over. But I still want a little bit of the table, as if the curtains were a little sheer and you could see some of the table coming through. Now, with my angle brush, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the gray, and I'm going to maybe do a line back here to define the end of the table. It gives it a little more definition. If you didn't do your line straight like I did, that's okay. We can clean them up with the chisel of our brush. For this painting, I'm only going to be using angle brushes. I find they work the best for me when I want to do my one-stroke flowers. I'm going to add a little bit of black with gray just to add even more definition at the back. Maybe I'm gonna add here a little bit of a shadow from the container of the flowers. While that dries, I'm going to move on to painting the curtains that are going to drape from here, curled up on the table, and drape down. For the curtains, I'm going to use a very bright blue color because I want my yellow daffodils to really pop. And for that, I'm going to use this filbert brush. What is the number? It's the number 10. And I'm picking up a little bit of blue, but not a lot. I'm going to try to keep my brush more dry than wet. And I'm going to start doing the curtain like this. Because my brush is dry, the canvas itself is creating the effect that I want, the effect of the curtain. And I'm going right over my flowers. That's okay. And because I already have a color on the background, I'm not seeing white, but I'm seeing this nice soft gray behind. It's okay if you want to leave some areas a little bit lighter, because that will create the folds of the curtain. And now we're going to add a little bit of darkness in some areas. I'm going to mix my blue with a little bit of the gray, just a little bit like this. So it gives me a darker version. And again, I don't want too much paint on my brush. And I'm going to start creating some folds up here. My curtain is folded at the bottom, so I think I'm going to add more folds down here. As you can see, our daffodils are getting cover, but that's okay. We're going to bring them out. We're going to start doing the this area here where the tablecloth goes, which is basically the curtain that is going to be folded. So we're going to do exactly the same as we did up here. We're going to start creating down here the folds of the curtain, which is draping and curling up in here. And we're going to use the same technique with our brush. It's not going to have a lot of paint. We can see through it. And we're going over the container because the container is see-through. So we want to create that effect that we can see through the container. We're going to add some shadows. And at the bottom here, we're going to make it a little bit darker because this is where it's hanging. To create the illusion that this is where it's hanging down. Again, we want to pick up just a little bit of white. We don't want the brush really wet. We want to create that effect with the canvas. We want the canvas to work for us and give us the effect of material behind. Trying to create the effect of the folded fabric in here. Basically, we're just playing with light and shadow to create the effect of the material. We're going to start doing the leaves at the back of our flowers. For the leaves, I'm going to use this angle brush. Is a number 10, but the main thing, the way I choose my brushes, is I see if they are going to be wide enough to do the job, the leaves, the petals that I want them to do. This is how I choose them, because these numbers here are not very consistent from brand to brand. The first thing I'm going to do is I wet my brush and remove the excess water. Here are all the colors that I'm going to be using for my leaves, and I'm going to dip my brush into my medium first, and I'm going to pick my main color, which is going to be green. I'm going to add a little bit of blue just to intensify the green at the tip, and a little bit of yellow at the end. And I'm going to mix my colors really well, and maybe I'll add a little bit of white at the end too. And this is the color I'm going to use, and I'm going to start doing some leaves. I'm going to start doing my leaves first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the bottom. I'm going to press my brush, and I'm going to press, and then I'm going to press into the canvas, and then I'm going to start coming up again like that. I'm going to come up, was a little light, so I can redo it and come up. And I can do a variety of different greens. I can add a little bit of more yellow on my next one. Maybe the ones at the back can have a little bit lighter green if you want. I'm going to do this one at the back here. So I'm pressing actually lightly on my chisel. Then I'm going to press into the canvas, and then I'm going to lift it up again. So I'm going to go ahead and do all the background leaves in different variations of the same colors. I'm going right over this flower, as you can see, but that's okay. While my leaves dry, I'm going to go ahead with just this round brush, and I'm going to paint my daffodils white, because some of them, of course, there's those leaves in front of them, and I want the yellows to look very, very bright. So I'm going to put a light coat of white paint on them. These are the front petals. It's like a triangle at the front with 3 petals, and the back is the same. One, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. They have 6 petals. It's really important to know how many petals the flowers that you're painting have. We're going to give the white a few minutes to dry so we can go ahead and paint our flowers. But on the meantime, we can do the stems of the flowers. For the stems of the flowers, we're going to use the same angle brush. This, I think is 5/8 Donna Dewberry angle brush. And I'm going to use the same brush to paint my daffodils. I'm going to dip my brush on my gel medium. I'm going to pick up my main color, which is green. Then I'm going to add a little bit of blue at the toe, and maybe a little bit of a lighter color at the end, maybe white with a little bit of green, maybe just to add some warmth. You can decide what colors you want. I'm going to start by doing this one. This one comes down, so I'm going to do it like this. And there we go. Now I'm going to move to the flowers, and to paint the flowers I'm going to put my canvas flat on the table because I think that will work better for me. I'm going to start doing my outer petals, and I'm going to use the Donna Dewberry angle brush 5/8, and for the petals I'm going to use yellow and white, and I'm going to dip my brush on my medium. I'm going to pick up my main color, which is going to be this bright yellow, and then on the toe, I can see that on the toe I'm going to need the lighter color. When you use a flat brush, you don't need to worry about that, but when you use an angle brush, it's important that you know where you're going to need your light and your dark colors. These are my front petals, so I'm going to do the back ones first. I move my canvas around because that's what makes it easier for me. By the way, I'm working on an 11 by 14 canvas. I wanted my canvas to be large because I wanted to create all this curtain effect on it. I could have done just the flowers on a smaller canvas. The petals on the daffodil are like 2 little layers of triangles. Okay, and now I'm going to finish the 3 ones that are on top. Now I'm going to do this once, and I'm going to load my brush exactly the same way. And I'm just going to press my brush and create the flower like that. On this one that is facing down this way, I'm going to do the little trumpet first. I'm going to use the same brush, and the colors that I'm using are red, orange, yellow, and white. My main color is going to be the orange, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of red on the heel of the brush and some yellow on the toe, and this is the color that I'm going to create. You can even add a little bit of white on the toe. And I'm going to do my little trumpet just by pressing down and wiggle a little bit like that. And that's going to be my trumpet. We're going to do the center of this one, and I'm going to load my brush the same way, using my orange as the main color. And adding a little bit of red on the heel, and a little bit of yellow and white on the toe. I'm gonna tap here so I know where my center is gonna go. That's where my center is gonna be. And I'm just gonna press my brush and just start going like this. Now I'm gonna do the same around. Medine number 5, and we're gonna do this one. Is gonna be facing a little bit this way, so we are gonna do the bottom part like this of our trumpet. I think I'm gonna go over with this with a little brush in here too. I feel that the one I used might have been a little bit large. That's the beauty about the one stroke. If you're not happy, you can go over it and touch it up just like I'm doing now. Okay, well, we're gonna finish doing this little trumpet. I'm gonna add a little bit of a gray green in some of the daffodils, because some of the daffodils have parts like this at the beginning. But on the meantime, we can add a little bit of highlight to the leaves, brighter white, and this is what is called floating. And we can add some highlights in some parts like this. I'm going to add a little bit of blue on some areas, using the same method of putting floating medium on my brush and just a little bit of blue on the toe, just like that. The main thing with painting is to be creative, to have fun. Be creative with color. Don't be afraid of color. You can always change it if you don't like it. In our vase, we want it to be translucent because we want to create the effect of glass. To make this more fun, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few little beads at the bottom of the glass. And in order to do that, I'm going to use this little mini beauty blender to create the little beads at the bottom of the glass. The color I'm going to use for the beads is going to be blue and white. So I'm going to pick up some of my blue on one side and a little bit of white on the other side. So it's going to be something like this, and I'm going to try test it in here. And my beauty blender, my mini beauty blender, is ready to go. So I'm going to do my beads just pressing and twisting a little bit. There we go. Perfect little beads at the bottom of the glass. Now we're going to let this dry before we go ahead and paint the glass. While the beads at the bottom of the glass are drying, what we're going to do with our liner brush and a little bit of white paint, we're going to do the little, I'm not sure what they are called, but the little things inside here. Maybe they're called, inside the flower. Now with the same liner brush, we can add some highlights in some places, make our flower pop. Now, the next step is we're going to paint this container where the flowers are sitting. And I'm going to use a light blue gray for that. I try not to use too much water with my acrylic paint. With your liner brush, it's okay to use water, but most of the time it's better to use the gel medium. For me, I find that works best. So I'm going to create a blue-gray for my vase. And I'm going to use a lot of my mixed media to make it clear like this. And I'm going to go ahead and paint it. Paint the whole area. So this is going to give me a color for my vase, which is what I want. I don't want it just to be clear. We're going to let it dry before we add the white to create the glass effect. Okay, my friends, we're back to the easel because I think you're going to see better, and I'm going to see better when I'm creating my vase and everything else in order to finish this painting. Okay, so I'm going to use the same Donna Dewberry angle brush, and the color on my vase is pretty much dry. So I'm going to add a little bit of dimension to it by mixing some of my gray with my blue, and I'm going to add a little bit of shadows in here. Now we have to keep this a little bit of a rounded motion, in a rounded way here, to create the effect of roundness. Now we're going to start adding a little bit of the white with the same brush, and maybe we'll add a little bit of blue so it's not super white, more like a pale blue. The key is not to have the brush with too much paint. Let's start with a little bit of a mix of the white. There you go, my friends. There's your glass, your flowers, your curtain. If you want, you can play a little bit more with this painting. You can add a little bit more shading on your vase. You can add more highlights on your flowers. This is my interpretation of the flower of the month of March, the daffodil. I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you learn a lot from it. If you like it, please give it a like, share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the next one.